There are 7 GoPros in a bundle, and they form what is called a virtual reality rig. So basically what we aim on doing is filming around a big fresh pile of elephant dung. And interestingly enough, there are a few more balls of elephant dung just behind us, which we can take you past quickly, just to give you an idea of the full scene here. So that one would have been the freshest, and the elephants were walking, judging by their tracks, from down that road towards where we are, and you can see there's a whole trail of dung, each of which has some dung beetles. Oh, there looks like one going down the road there, Vian, with quite a big ball. You're going straight for it. That's perfect. There we go. They're incredibly powerful animals, these. And as much fun as this is, Jamie is back in position to receive you with Shadow. Enjoy.
Now we are still with Shadow. I've been desperately trying to see if I can see where this injury is on her leg, or what part of it is hurting her. It does seem to be her right front to me. She's stopped there, trying to peer at her through the bushes. There is a chance that if she continues up a little bit further, we are going to lose her in the drainage line. I'm going to try and stay with her for now. Oh my word, logs everywhere. Squeeze through here. Oh my word. Definitely logs everywhere, and a distinct feeling like the ground should not be this sandy. I'm just going to stop for a moment so I don't stress her out, let her decide where she wants to go. Try and find my binoculars at the same time so that I can have a look at that injury on her leg. I still can't see anything. I'm not sure if you guys can, or if you can pinpoint where it is exactly. If it is an open wound, if not, it might be a sore ankle or a sore joint. I'm hoping she's going to head towards that big large pod albizia that she's just at the base of at the moment. Tree without thorns, and therefore a perfect leopard tree on our beautiful evening. Interestingly, we've been seeing Karula do this more and more, and Shadow's doing it too. While she's been moving through, she's been stopping to spray urine and to mark her territory. And I think she's just reaffirming her eastern boundary, reminding her mother of exactly where she draws the line. Or possibly in response to Karula's reminder as to where the line is drawn. Uh-oh. Are we gonna make it? Yes, we are. Now, adrenaline rush. You were wondering about Shadow's spot pattern. She has a 3-4 spot pattern. Oh my word! This could definitely end badly for us. It's either gonna end in a flat tire or a vehicle in the hole. We might have to squeeze through here. Sorry, guys. You're right there, Brian. Just keeps getting thicker and thicker, and Paul Rizzo apparently you have looked it up on Google, and leopards have approximately 1,000 spots. Well, I think that's pretty much Here she is. You got her there, Brian. Tucked away in the weeping wattle. Well, thank you, Paul Rizzo, for Googling how many leopard spots are there. It is a lesson learned for me. Looking at her now, I don't know why the number 300 ever popped into my head, because it's quite clearly more than that. It's very convenient of her to lie down in the weeping wattle. I think she's found a perfect position. I don't think she's going to stay flat here, though. I think she's going to keep moving. She's just resting up every now and again. I could be wrong, though. I think she's on a mission. Yep. Oh, nope, just shifting around. That looks like such a comfortable, perfect hiding. We've been treated to some serious spectacles of leopards mating. And Sharon, you've been watching in Pittsburgh, you were wondering how it is that so many mating sessions, or how can leopards mate as often as they do and not result in conception, when for humans it just takes one. Well, there's a couple of factors there for different or one deliberate attempt before conception occurs. It can actually take several, depending on the person's health and their fertility. And the same will go for leopards as well. But not only that, the leopards mate as many times as they do for a couple of reasons. One of which is it takes the female a while to ovulate. So it's ovulate, they go into estrus, and then the male causes them to release the eggs that they're carrying that can then be fertilized. So they need those repeated sessions. And then, of course, that's a way of ensuring the strongest possible male available to them. Seen shadow mating twice now, and by mating on a week-long session. We've seen that happen twice the last 2 months, and the same goes for Karula also over the last 2 months. Why it is that they haven't conceived, I don't know. I know that several people have thrown aspersions as to Tingana's fertility, so the male that they were mating with. I'm not sure if that's fair. I have to double check into success rates of leopards mating and how often it results in conception. I guess just the same as people, it has to be that it sometimes takes a little bit longer in leopards. So I don't know, I think both Karula and Shadow are getting on in years, which means that they won't be as fertile. Doesn't mean they're going to be infertile, it might mean that they won't be as fertile as they were when they were younger. Never fear, I'm sure there are going to be babies on the way in the next few months, and lucky for us, we don't have time limits on our safaris, so we'll be able to follow them and find out when they do actually give birth. Now, for the moment, Shadow is not going anywhere, but Brent has found a mystery animal that I have yet to be convinced exists. Let's head across to him and his aardvark hole.
So, welcome back. We are at the old hyena den off Rebecca's Road. This is the last place Karula's been seen today. So we're going to get onto her track shortly, but I could not resist showing you guys this before we did that. You can see we've had all that rain, so you can see this dark colored mud has been flung out of here. And it's something that can dig really well. Re-excavated the mud in that after this has been flooded during the rain. And guess what? They're at home. So if I take my stick and I put it into the entrance of this hole, well, now they're not playing along. They've gone in deeper. There we go. You see those flies? You got them there, Jandre? So there's an aardvark in this burrow, and the reason I can tell that is because of these specific flies. So those who are on the Sunrise bushwalk with me, I spoke about fly species that they're not sure whether they feed off the sweat or the blood of an aardvark. And if an aardvark is at home, they are always inside at the entrance, and the reason for that is so the aardvark can't leave without the flies being attached to them. So they literally are followed by a swarm of these flies at all times. It must be quite uncomfortable, especially if they are blood drinkers, and I'm really interested to find out whether they drink blood or sweat. So there's this ongoing study about that. Oh, hello. There's a little rattling testicular calling right next to us, but I can't really see him. He's in this spike thorn, and he's very loud. Kiss, kiss, run away. So if we look down below us here, the vehicles left Karula around that big marula tree in the distance, and she went into this drainage system. So what we're hoping is we're going to find some fresh tracks, and we're going to go into the drainage line, and while we go look for Karula, we're going to send you back to her daughter, Shadow.
Whilst they go off in search of Karula, we sit with her.
Around a big fresh pile of elephant dung, and interestingly enough there are a few more balls of elephant dung just behind us, which we can take you past quickly just to give you an idea of the full scene here. So that one would have been the freshest, and the elephants were walking, judging by their tracks, from down that road towards where we are, and you can see there's a whole trail of dung, each of which has some dung beetles. Oh, there looks like one going down the road there, Vian, with quite a big ball. You're going straight for it. That's perfect. There we go. They're incredibly powerful animals, these. And as much fun as this is, Jamie is back in position to receive you with Shadow. Enjoy.
I hope you're enjoying these shots. This is a new experience for me, talking through the drone from the quarantine clearings. In case you're wondering where my voice is coming from, it isn't in fact coming from the ether. I'm sitting on quarantine clearings in a tent, and Andrew, of course, is miles away at Buffelshoek Dam, where this elephant bull has just been enjoying his sundowner. There he is, Andrew, and the vehicle. And what else has he got there with him? I think that's the stump. It's difficult sometimes to see what it is exactly the drone is looking at. And let's go back now and see if we can't get another look at those hippopotami. You can also get a really good view now of exactly how the lay of the land works. So while we're enjoying the potential of being able to look at herds of animals from a different view, you also can enjoy a view of the reserve that you've never had before. And what that means is that when we say we've come to Buffelshoek Dam, you can get an idea of the topography, which you don't get from a vehicle. And I think that's a really special opportunity for us. Look at the geese there. And you can see the hippo are totally unfazed by those geese. And I suspect that the geese, rather like the drongos, will follow mammals as they walk through the bush. I suspect those geese and their goslings will be knocking about that little pod of hippos in order to try and pick up the bits and pieces of, they normally eat algae, geese, although we've seen these ones eating fish, which is supposed to be impossible, but I've definitely seen them fishing. But they probably pick up the bits of algae, maybe one or two invertebrates that are kicked up by the hippos as they go about their lazy day. There you can see the 4 goslings. Look at that from the air. And one day they too, of course, will be flying, much like Andrew Francis is with this incredible drone. There's also it's gone now, but it was a hammerkop sitting on the back of those hippopotamus. Right, so Andrew's now flying in a southerly direction down a road called Hippo Pools. Well, he's actually about to film the top of his own head, I think. Yes, there he is. And he's landing. And we are going to link now back to Jamie. I'm not sure what she's looking at. In fact, I can see what she's looking at. She's Still looking for Shadow, and we will see you a little bit later.
Alrighty, so an interesting twist to the tale. Tingana is pretty much within 500 meters of where we left Shadow. I'm now making my way back towards that area to see if we can find her again and see what she's been up to, because who knows, those two might decide to have another rendezvous. It'll be very interesting to see if they do. Just got to get there first, which means hop over the street and over the street. There we go. We did have somebody trying to follow us to her. I appear to have lost him though. Alrighty, but Scott's got Tingana back again, so let's head across to him for now.
Well, he's crossed through the riverbed now. We've managed to relocate him. Isn't he a fine specimen? Now, the bad news is he may well cross over our northern boundary. He's about to get onto it. There's the virtual reality rig filming. That's going to be exciting to watch how that turns out. Hello, boy. And as I guessed, he's heading straight into Buffels Hook, our northern neighbors, where we sadly are not permitted to go. But we did have a wonderful view of them, or of him rather. I'm just going to move forward ever so slightly. I'm causing a bit of a traffic jam here. Back it. And as we creep along here, we should be able to get you.
Alrighty, well, we've made our way back to where Shadow is, and we do apologize for the abrupt departure from Scott, but it's okay, because Shadow is exactly where we left her. I'm going to just try and get us into a nice position so that we can see her again, without planting Brian either into a hole or a silver cluster leaf. There she is. Oh. Looking, if possible, even flatter than when we last had her. Fortunately, I don't feel any guilt anymore about blocking off other people's view to the sighting. As that branch seems to be doing. It's in exactly the wrong place. We can just see her little furry paws sticking out. Lying there. I still wish she'd roll over so I could have a check of her other side. Oh, and it seems as though Tingana is crossing into Buffels Hook, so we'll pop across there.
Well, Texans guests are getting a great view, and look at all the smiles on their faces. That's the last view we'll have of Tingana. We are sadly not allowed to go anymore. And as he disappears around this next corner, we'll say our goodbyes and wave him off and wish him a happy evening. I've never actually seen him heading into this portion of Buffels Hook before. It's interesting to see where his territory is moving and how it's shifting. And as I say that, he was leaning into a bush, in all likelihood about to scent mark. Now, another beautiful thing I can show you from up here is the sun that's setting out to the west, some beautiful cloud formations. Look at that, what an evening. And we've been spoilt once again by some wonderful sights this afternoon. A female leopard, a male leopard, a host of interesting little bugs with Brent on the bushwalk, and now a magical, magical sunset. Now, for those of you who may be joining for the first time, you may be wondering, why are the other vehicles allowed to drive there and why aren't we? And it's important that we explain that. We tend to forget why sometimes us as humans are prevented from going wherever we're allowed to, but the animals are free roaming and have no boundaries or rules permitted to them, which is great. And the simple answer is simply to make sure that there are never too many people in an animal's area, so it doesn't become overcrowded and chaotic. You would hate to bump into a traffic jam out here, and that's exactly what the different traversing agreements make sure that doesn't happen, is that when you're driving around there's not going to be too many vehicles ruining your wilderness experience and also putting too much pressure on the animals. So we're allowed to go into other areas where these vehicles aren't allowed to go, and vice versa. Sadly for us now, it's just our bad luck, but the other people will continue. Just saying goodbye to them, having a wonderful afternoon. And what we need to remember is that all the boundaries and neighboring properties will always inform us, just like when Tingana crossed into Djuma, even though it was very briefly, those guides made sure they got the message to us. Good. Hello Gracie, aged 8, one of our youngest viewers, but the amount of safaris Gracie's joining us on, she's soon going to know more about this than any of the presenters are. Gracie, good to know you're watching, and she's asked a clever question. She would like to know if there's any chance the leopard's spray is different from its urine, if that's kind of spray for the scent mark is different to the urine. And Gracie, I don't think it is. I think it's the same liquid that's used that they spray. But I'm very happy to hear you're thinking about those little things, because it means you are going to be a wonderful safari guide when you grow up one day. Here at VM, it's at about 10 or 11 o'clock there. You got it? Well done, VM. I think this is the Jacobin's cuckoo. But when it's facing away, it's difficult to tell. The calls are confusing. It's either the Jacobins or the Levalians. Either the Jacobins or the Levalians. I'm not sure if any of you know from the call, but for me I always get confused between the Jacobins and the Levalians in terms of their call. So a white breast, and the Levalians will have a striped breast. Oh! And interestingly, what I think may be happening is that it may be trying to parasitize the nest of this long-tailed shrike. Which reminds me that I need to show you a small video I took of the other nest we found earlier this morning, or earlier this afternoon. So I just used my little camera to video a short sequence of what is actually in that nest. So take a look at this, and then we'll be able to work out.
Okay, so I've got my little selfie stick out, and I'm going to now take you in to see what's in this bird's nest. How's that looking? Good. As you can see, nothing yet, but we'll keep monitoring it and soon.
This morning, or earlier this afternoon, so I just used my little camera to video a short sequence of what is actually in that nest. So take a look at this, and then we'll be able to work out.
Okay, so I've got my little selfie stick out, and I'm going to now take you in to see what's in this bird's nest. How's that looking? Good. As you can see, nothing yet, but we'll keep monitoring it, and soon there should be some eggs there.
How cool was that? So we at least managed to work out that there are no eggs in the magpie shrike or long-tailed shrike's nest. But what this Jacobin's cuckoo, I think it's a Jacobin's cuckoo, is looking for are the eggs of the magpie shrike, or at least the nest. What it'll do is it'll throw one of the shrike's nests out, lay its own egg in there, and usually what happens is the cuckoo's eggs hatch very quickly before the eggs of their host, meaning that the cuckoo is the first little chick that gets fed by its foster parents, and because it's the first one to get fed, it starts growing the fastest and usually outcompetes the actual young of the foster parents. So quite brutal what happens with the cuckoos, but they are very clever and it is nature. And I'm guessing that that's what could be happening. That cuckoo could well parasitize these shrikes. I'm not too sure. I'm going to have to do some research on that. But that is something we need to keep in mind at this time of the year. We nearly saw a Levalian's cuckoo who parasitizes strictly the arrow-marked babblers in this area. And they were having a huge row. The arrow-marked babblers were chasing the cuckoo and the cuckoo was chasing the babblers. A really cool sighting. Let's stop here. There's some wonderful afternoon sunlight on this long-tailed shrike. He was responsible for building, well, its cousin at least, or a friend of his, was responsible for building that nest you've just had a look at now. Wonderful. And I'm just going to move off the road quickly. Craig is rushing off to have a quick look at Tingana, the leopard we've just been with. Cheers, Craig. Cheers, everyone. Now, another special request from my friend Gracie. Also on the topic of birds, she would like to see some videos, and I'm sure all of you would like to see them because they're actually really interesting. And they are basically a sequence of videos I've taken of a lilac-breasted roller's nest. And the first video I took was on the 10th of this month, and the chicks hardly had any feathers on them, which you can kind of vaguely make out in the video. And yesterday, I think, was the most recent video I took, and you'll notice the differences. So let me show you those quickly now. Okay. So, let me just get into a good spot where there's not too much glare. Zoom in a bit. Now, you can see those are tiny little wings, that's a head, and what I'm covering is the other chick. There's two of them.
Moved a little bit so that people can see what you actually are. I don't think we're going to get that lucky.
So that was the first video I took of them on the 10th, of this month. And I'm not very good on my cell phone, as you'll learn very quickly, but I'm getting there. And then this is the second video that I took. Let me just make sure, sorry, just so that I can give you the correct information. Sorry, VM. I took this video yesterday at 7:11 a.m. Okay. So this is just 9 days later.
So you can see at least one little head there. They're nestled up next to one another. The second one's head, I think, is facing the opposite direction, but look at all those bright feathers, and they're looking just like their parents are now, and I think it'll be pretty soon before they come out and we can take a closer look at them.
How cool is that? Actually, technology, it'll make us more likely to be in a good spot to make this kind of technology applicable to a live safari. And imagine that. You'll be sitting on the back of the vehicle, deciding where you look, when you look there, but we're still quite some time away from that. What this will be great for those to be allowed to share wonderful experiences with people and immerse them in Africa, in close-up encounters with different creatures. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of footage we capture with it. This is the first afternoon we are using it, and we've already got some footage of Tingana, that male leopard, as well as that elephant bull a bit earlier. So got off to a great start this afternoon, and let's just see how the footage comes out. It's not a permanent fixture, by the way, we're just test driving it. And thank you so much to you guys for your kind words regarding all of the technology, the drone, the bushwalk, the microscope, the tent, now this. And you're right, as I've said, our tech guys as well as the founders of the company are really one step ahead of the game, making sure that we are supplied with the latest technology and the latest toys, which understandably always puts a big smile on all of our faces when a new gizmo arrives. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying it too, because it really does pay to make technology work for us in conservation, in nature, and get us that much closer to the animals, or make this experience that much more real for everyone involved. So thank you for your kind words. We're certainly loving the new additions to our team, and give us as much feedback as you can on them. And as a lot of you will be aware, there will be some technical difficulties bound to be attached to the new toys, but thankfully we've got an incredibly genius team that manages to crack the codes and get the impossible sorted out, usually without too much hassle. What is going to be at the waterhole? It's just around the next corner here. Possibly another leopard. That would be 4 leopards in one day. Karula and Shadow this morning. Shadow and Tingana this afternoon. Well, no leopard, but it looks like a pod of 5 hippos and a family of 2 Egyptian geese with their 4 goslings. They started off with 7, so sadly they've lost 3 of their little goslings. Not too sure what got them. The first one that was taken had an injured leg. It was a hop along from the first day we saw them. But not easy business raising a family out here. There are just so many predators, but that makes things tricky. I think these hippos are going to start getting restless. They are nocturnal grazers, and we can expect them to head out fairly soon. And I'm happy that you guys are now getting a ground level view of what's going on here at the waterhole, because I'm told you had a beautiful scenic flight with James narrating the drone's movements. As I was saying, they are nocturnal, the hippopotamus, so they're going to start thinking about heading out to go and find some grass to feed on, and that would be wonderful to see if we actually get to see them heading out. It may still be some time though. Last night we drove past here at around 7:30 after we left the young male lion from the Inkuhuma pride called Junior, and as we were driving past on Buffalo's Hook cut line, maybe 200 or 300 meters away from here, we saw 2 hippo heading off into Buffalo's Hook. So I'm guessing that's probably the time they head out, probably around 7, 10 past 7, so already after dark. But no set rules, and every evening may be different. And what you'll find is in winter they tend to head out of the water earlier on because they have to travel further in search of food, which is more scarce in the winter months. And we've been racing around and seeing so much this afternoon that I think it's going to be a good opportunity to just stop and listen. And I think our best view to stop and just have a minute or so of silence and reflection as to what's gone down this afternoon. I think that's a decent view. And I'm just going to keep quiet just for a minute, and we can all do the same thing and just enjoy it. Well, I'm sure a lot of you enjoyed that little moment of tranquility. I certainly did. My mind went straight back to Tingana, and I really do love big male leopards, and the brief time we did get to spend with them this afternoon was really great quality, and that's important to remember on safari. It's not always about quantity, but quality of sightings is also very important, and I feel that that was a high quality sighting. I hope you guys agree. Interesting news. You are about to be transported into the safari tent where Brent has taken something that he found on the bushwalk into James for a closer inspection. I wish I was coming along with you guys. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the tent where we are sitting in a glorious dusk light. Now, to link up with the walk, Brent Leo Smith drove back, he walked, he lumbered in a little while earlier, sweating profusely, as did Jean-Ray. Brent was carrying a small stick, Jean-Ray was carrying 40 kilograms of equipment. That's just how it works out here. Right, what we're going to do is cross it over to the microscope cam, and that you can see there is the end of a beetle's foot. And that is not what I wanted to link to you, but I just wanted to quickly show you basically what is a beetle's leg. And those little hairs, you've seen beetles crawling up and down vertical surfaces and sometimes up and down. Those little hairs help them to do that. Right, now I'm going to pull him out of there. And now I'm going to focus in on the feather that the inimitable Brent Leo Smith had affixed to his hat. Now we both have agreed, and therefore it is incontestable, that this feather belonged to a Jacobin or Levallian's cuckoo. The two cuckoo species that we see flying around here, black and white they are. One used to be called the striped cuckoo. And the interesting thing about the picture of the feather on the microscope is not so much the colors, first of all. They look black and white when you see them fly, but there's very clearly some pigment there. But the other thing to look at, if we can, is the fact that there are barbs. Now, I don't know if you can see there, on the feather in the middle of the screen, I've split the two filaments of the feather, and you can see that each filament is covered in a layer of barbs. Now, I can't point that out to you because it will make you seasick. But those filaments, at least those barbs, are what stick the filaments together. Now, when you see a bird preening itself, it's obviously also rubbing oil all over the feathers from various oil glands around the place, but it's also sticking those barbs together like Velcro. And what they do is the two filaments will come together, and those barbs will hold the filaments together a little bit like Velcro would hold Velcro together, really. And that's how that's what they're doing. You often see birds preening, and they move their beaks all over their bodies, putting oil on them and rejoining those filaments together so that when they fly away, they don't plummet from the sky and end up in a heap on the ground, which is of course what would happen if we tried to fly. Right, the other thing that we can show you over here on the microscope, if you'll excuse my rather amateurish